Free Play Twitch audience. My name is Chad, and this is the FPHops podcast. I've got a couple of guys with me. Zach,
hello.
Returned.
I have. It's been a couple weeks.
Move your mic in just a little closer.
It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, it has been a couple of weeks. We had a little break for the 4th
holiday,
of July, which is cool. And I've got Kyle Jordan,
Hey.
Who has recently joined Lakewood Brewing Company.
That's
Welcome,
right.
Kyle.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming out, man.
Yeah.
This is awesome. We're actually doing a little bit of a, I guess, is a summer nights brewery event. Is that what they are calling these?
It's a pint night. So,
Pint night.
We had enough people say, we really like your pint glasses. How can we get some? And we'd be like, oh, well, we can sell them to you, or you could wait for this event that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And we're pretty much giving them away with every beer that is bought. So if you go and get
Any draft beer?
any draft, we're giving out a free pint glass that you can take home with you, up to I think 4 pint glasses.
That's a lot.
That's enough to make a table set. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'd call that a win.
That's awesome.
I don't think my marriage can handle any more glassware personally, but that's a pretty awesome idea.
I actually really like these because they added the Arlington logo on there,
Yeah,
which is cool.
Just that little touch. Because it used to be just say, he's got one that just says free play.
Just free play.
But
The
I think
Arlington's
adding
cool.
that little bit of color, I don't know if Richardson has those quite yet, but
Oh, no?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't make it
Okay.
out there very often, but
Oh, okay.
that would be cool if they had it in like a pink instead of a blue, so that way everybody could have different colors. But
Yeah. Oh, man, I'm really excited about the kitchen calling during the podcast.
oh yeah,
This is amazing.
this is a high quality podcast.
So, Kyle, you are newly appointed, is it Director of Sales, or what's the title over at Lakewood?
I am the head mouthpiece.
Official title.
Official title. No, unofficially, yes. I just joined the team as the director of sales for Lakewood.
Congratulations, that's
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you very much. It's I've always been enamored with that brewery since my time here in DFW. The people who've worked there, the personalities, a lot of the beers that come through there. So yeah, it was a rare opportunity. I was really excited it came my way.
Lakewood is second oldest brewery in Dallas proper.
In
Is
North
that right?
Texas, yep, I believe that's correct. Yes.
Okay. And you guys, I was actually just looking at this 2 days ago. No, maybe it was yesterday. I think, unless I have bad information, I think Lakewood is the 6th largest brewery by production in North Texas.
In North Texas, yes.
Yeah.
Last time I looked at the Brewbound, I want to say in the state by production, we were somewhere around in the 16, in the top 20.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of old guard out there.
Yeah.
Real Ale, San Arnold, Carbox, who's got, I mean, the most ridiculous brewery they've built in the last 5 years, let's just say.
Yeah.
But it's pretty great to say that about Texas craft beer scene, too, after, the last 10 years, to say that there's the old guard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
There is an old guard, though.
Yeah, there is an old
And
guard.
I'd say locally, Franconia and RAR take up that old guard. Because we only have those two guys that have been around for over 10 years.
For sure.
At this point.
Yeah.
But those guys are, we love those guys too. In fact, I'm going to talk about one of those breweries a little bit later.
Little piece, though, since you brought up RAR, that's where our founder, Wim, that's where he started brewing at.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, he was a brewer at RAR.
I don't know why I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's new with Lakewood lately? I know that there's this partnership, I guess, with Jack Daniels or something like that.
We were one of a few, RAR included, North Texas craft breweries that were approached by Jack Daniels to, take some of their barrels and just go crazy with it and just be collaborative. And so I think a lot of people took their existing beers and tried doing different versions of those beers aged in Jack Daniels barrels. And our brewers, our production team really took the bull by the horns and decided to come up with one really new beer and then take one of our most popular ones, Temptress, and do something with it. So that's how we created the Tennessee Temptress.
Which is really good.
Yeah,
I love that beer.
that is seconded only to the true bourbon barrel Temptress.
It was a huge hit for sure. And I was actually surprised. It was a very small production size, but even with that size, the response we got, and in the middle of summer too, with like a 12% big barrel-aged stout.
Hey, it's air conditioned in here. I'll drink a big
That's
bourbon
true.
barrel stout anytime.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah,
No, you just got to
I
move
love
from,
it.
as quickly as you can from your car to the bar.
I mean, I had coffee at 5:30 this evening when it was 95 out. So,
Yeah.
I'll drink big barrel-aged stouts or hot coffee any time of the day. Doesn't matter to me.
You're one of those.
I am one of those. Yeah.
As long as it's air conditioned inside, it doesn't matter what temperature it is outside.
I understand what Kyle's saying though. I think
Typically, it's not the right time of year.
it's just a palate. You know, your palate changes.
Yeah,
I am
yeah.
looking for. This is a surprisingly refreshing. This jacked up lemonade. This is the an interpretation of a Lynchburg lemonade.
That's both beers were the target for the production team was, so for Tennessee Temptress, we wanted to do a Jack and Coke. So that was the end result. That's why we basically upped the vanilla, aged it on Jack Daniel's barrels for 9 months, and also had it re-fermented on sweet cherries.
No, I forgot about the cherries.
Yeah, so
How
there's
much is in there?
Geez, I want to say it was like 900 pounds of sweet cherries, something
Yeah.
like that.
And how much?
There's a lot to tell. I don't know. Whenever I drink it, I don't know. Maybe me and yours palates are different because I get a lot of whiskey out of that. I know you were talking earlier.
Out of the jacked up lemonade?
Yeah, out of the jacked up lemonade.
Yeah, I
You
get
were
a
saying-
little bit. I get a little bit now. I had it one other time, and it was not as whiskey forward.
Okay.
So I get a little bit here. Maybe
And I get
some
a
of
ton
this
of
vanilla.
cherry out of the Tennessee Temptress.
Yeah,
So I don't
I think
know.
I drank it when it was too cold, maybe.
Maybe
Which you should always drink your stouts.
50 to
55.
55 is what they say.
Yeah, I don't mind starting out when it's a little colder, but I think the one I got was like ice cold. I mean, it was like 35 degrees. Or something
You should
like
drink
that.
your stouts as if you're British and angry at the Irish. No, so that was the target for that one, and then for the jacked up lemonade, it was Lynchburg lemonade.
Okay.
So it was.
I think it's actually a well done interpretation of that too.
I think that
Yeah.
our brewers killed it. Like when I first tasted it out of the bright tank, I took a step back. I was like, wow, when is this going out, and how many kegs do we have? It's just.
It's refreshing. It's got bourbon flavor. It's got some oak characters to it.
Without being
Very-
so boozy that
No,
you don't
it's
want
not
to
that
drink it in
boozy.
the middle of the summer.
It's a refreshing beer for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
What is this, like 7%? Is that right?
6.8.
6.
But yeah,
Okay.
south of it.
Well, either way, it's a really refreshing beer.
Thank you.
And I'm enjoying it.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. I drink all you can because there's not much left.
No?
No, I mean I think we only got maybe 60, just under 60 barrels worth.
Okay.
Yeah, so not a lot.
I don't know if anybody is hiding anywhere over at Andrews, but there's this place called Civil Pour opening in about a month.
They might have a barrel. They might have a keg of
We
it.
might.
Would love to find a keg of that.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Oh, I forgot. There's one in my car. Never mind.
Just hanging out in the back of your car.
Yeah, I forgot. That's for emergencies only. Camping emergencies only.
Any other Lakewood news you want to touch on?
Coming up here, in, I guess we're about under a month. We're about to celebrate our 6-year anniversary of all things Lakewood. August
Awesome.
4th. Yeah, we're gonna have a bunch of fun stuff. Bunch of really nothing you'll find out in the market.
Is this a ticketed event where people can get tickets to it now, or when do those go on
I
sale?
believe tickets go live starting next week. We're finalizing the beer list. We're getting everything planned and ready to go. There's a cap of 800 tickets available.
Nice. I
Yeah.
think that's a great thing to do. No knock on Lakewood, but there have been a couple of times in the past when I think they got more people than they expected in that space.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it was, I think one year it was like strictly limited to 200 tickets at like 2 and then 4 and then 8. Or maybe it was like noon, 2, 4, and 8. And that worked really great. Where there was like 200 per every 2 hours. And you could stay there, but a lot of people would just drift out. But limiting it to 800 tickets I think is great, as long as it's not open to the public later, which it was another time.
I think the plan so far, from what I understand from our taproom manager, Eva, is that we're going to do staggering again, starting at noon.
Okay.
And I believe it's only like 200 people at a time for general admission, but 12 o'clock, the release is VIP. And that's a 200 ticket cap.
I will definitely be there. For that. Those parties are amazing.
We'll definitely try to be there instead of here.
I was going to say if you're not here, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Can I get a break?
Right. I just need to go. Drive across town real quick, and I don't even think I could take an hour break and make it out there, man.
Well, it's going to go from 12 to 8. All the rare stuff's going to go on. We've got 2 bands playing throughout the day. We've got food trucks out there. We've got
Is Pit Commander going to be there? I know that's one of the Lakewood favorites.
Pit Commander. We'll have pizza, and I think we're finalizing a few other food trucks. I know we're talking about having a dessert like snow cone truck out there.
Cool.
Something, it might
That's
get hot.
good in the dead of summer.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
August. Ugh.
But I mean, if you haven't made it out to Lakewood's tap room, it's beautiful.
Oh, it is.
Thank you, yeah.
It is a really nice tap room. I was out there for 2017 BBT.
Uh-huh.
It was super cold
Yeah.
the entire time, but I had a great time the whole time. But you can. I don't know if it's open to the public on a normal basis, but you can walk through kind of where the production goes. Is that open all the time?
For the tour?
Not for the tour. Just like there's like a hallway between the tap room and then your back area.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
7 days a week, our tap room's open, and that's usually the path, because we usually take that to get out from our tap room to our beer garden
Right.
outside.
That's a really big pavilion out there, or like almost a pavilion.
Mhm.
They all have out there with tables and everything. It's really, really well done.
Thank you. Yeah, and I believe we're also going to have some swamp fans out there also in case it's hot, just to make sure everybody stays cool during the heat. But also ice cold beer does that too.
Yeah.
Let's talk about just one more Lakewood related thing, unless you wanted to move on to anything else.
No, go ahead.
So Kyle has bestowed upon us this delicious nectar. This is Lion's Share 6. Now, is this going to be bottle and draft?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to read you guys the blend of what this is. So it's 50% Grimshire, which is a rye whiskey barrel rye wine. It's 20% Grand Allowance, which was Chardonnay barrel wheat wine. 20% Thread Spinner, which was American barley wine aged in a bourbon barrel. I love that beer. And then 10% everybody's favorite bourbon barrel Temptress. Kyle, have you had a chance to try this yet?
I may have opened a bottle already. Yes. It was a stay-at-home night, to say the least.
Was it
That's
planned
gotta be
to be a stay-at-home night,
This has
or
gotta
was
be
it
a
just turned
big-
into one?
I mean, when you open one of
12.5.
those, I hope it is.
12.5, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a beefy beer, of course, but we wanted to celebrate it in a beefy way. Like 6
And when
years.
does that come out?
I believe release date is officially in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
Yep.
And that's wherever you find good Lakewood beer, you'll
Yep.
be able to get this.
Yep, it's very limited. So go out to your favorite local bottle shops and package stores, and
Pick it all up.
Yeah, make sure you what's the word I'm looking for? Support those who help support us in the community.
Yeah.
As always, and that's really what for me, that's what all these special release beers end up being. It's just
You mean like Civil Pour?
like great accounts like Civil Pour.
We're not open yet, but we will be right around August 7th is kind of my guess on
Okay.
when we're going to open the shop.
Now, Free Play also supports y'all. Apparently, maybe some arcade games are in there in y'all's tap rooms. What I hear.
Yes, we've got a Miss Pac-Man and a couple of, I think, a Street Fighter and a
There's
couple
a
of other
Street
ones.
Fighter at Liquid Tap Room? Oh, I'm going to have to go over there.
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna go over
the
there.
Arcade Everywhere initiative
Nice.
that
Yeah.
put on.
I guess we're getting a signal.
Yeah, is that at Lakewood Tap Room?
Oh, that's at the tap room, and
Yeah, that is
that's
at the
Wim throwing up the devil signs right there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
they,
He's playing a little Galaga.
If it's Galaga, he's just trying to beat my top score. That's all.
That was my favorite game as a 5-year-old boy was Galaga. I loved that game. So it kind of brings back lots of memories.
That's an old school one for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I used to go to this pizza place that was in the same parking lot as the grocery store that my mom would do the grocery shopping at. And it was this weirdest place, man, because you would go in there and they had a cocktail-style Galaga that you would sit down at.
Yeah.
And Mom would literally drop... I'm like 6 years old. She would drop me off at this pizza place that was also a bar that had dudes smoking and throwing
Okay.
darts and pounding shots of who knows what.
Yeah.
And it was a different time then, though, because
Yeah.
that was fine. It wasn't. But today you'd be like, "Oh, child negligence. What's going on over there?"
Back then
but
it was
fine.
just entertaining your child.
Yes.
I mean, you didn't have two thumbs in order to be able to entertain your child with a cell phone.
I was a very independent 6-year-old. I'll just tell you now. I would talk to the people in the bar area too, and they're like, "This is kid, but he's cool."
6-year-old lungs filter everything.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's move on to the next topic. I have a list of things I want to try to talk about today. We got word yesterday that local brewery Four Corners was acquired by Constellation, and Constellation is sort of this gigantic conglomerate that has spirits brands, wine, and beer. And in their beer portfolio, specifically Ballast Point was acquired for $1 billion. Corona is probably what they hang their hat on, because that's just been growing like gangbusters. Corona is one of the reasons why that company is doing so well.
Find your beach.
Find your beat, and Corona is doing new stuff all the time. That's
Yeah, they are.
working. They're
Yeah.
doing they're actually about to they either have or are about to launch a product called Premier, which aims right at the heart of the Michelob Ultra drinkers, which is super low calorie, a very light beer. And then they also own Modelo, and they recently acquired Florida's Funky Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
Funky
forgot
Buddha,
about Funky Buddha.
that really pissed a lot of people off.
I do remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like Funky Buddha was sacred. Something
them
about
and Wicked Weed.
Yeah,
right?
something about them was very sacred that nobody thought that they would get bought out, and then suddenly, it was like come down from the mountain, and everyone was like,
You know what's interesting? Chris has posted a picture of the Four Corners Tap Room, the new one, which I actually have not been to. That's in the Cedars.
I went for the first time last weekend, 4th of July weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you think of it? Was it big? Like, was it something that they obviously spent some money on?
It's really, it's really well done. It's really, it's very curated, very nicely done. It's made, in my opinion, it's made to showcase large events.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's built for like that. Like it would be fun to have a party there. It'd be fun to like have a wedding reception, something like that. No, it's a great event space.
My understanding is that this acquisition, and I didn't know this until yesterday. I knew nothing about it. But my understanding is this been kind of in the works for about a year.
Really?
Is what I was told by a couple of guys who have more knowledge on it, obviously, than I do. But if that's the case, then I think it might be reasonable to say that some money was maybe flowing in the doors from other avenues to build this huge new tap room. Does it seem, Kyle, let me ask you this, does it seem like a normal brewery that's top 5 in DFW would be able to have enough capital to go and build a tap room like that? I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Okay, that's well, without knowing the guys that you know, apparently, since they gave you the inside info, I think that what's happening, because kind of to circle back a little bit, when you guys were talking about Wicked Weed and something that kind of hurt, I think it was the speed of the acquisition, because Wicked Weed came on the scene, and then like shortly after they became on every really big craft beer fan's radar, they were purchased. And I think it was the speed of the acquisition, and I think you're seeing this timetable speed up ever since, like, first one out of the gate to actually have it happen and affect a lot of people was Goose Island.
Oh, for sure. For sure. That was the first one that started all the other dominoes falling.
And I think that there's a reality to it that a lot of business models for the longest time, for the history, is to build up a brand and then have somebody buy it from you. Like, you want to build up the equity in that brand, build it to what it is, and then have it buy it from you. And I think that there's a personal attachment that a lot of craft beer fans have to their breweries, the ones that become their favorite, especially local ones, that when that happens, it's just your automatic, like, you push against it. And I guess it just comes down to the fact that, like, if you don't know what their initial business plan was from the beginning, that it can be quite a shock. So I can't speak to what their original business plan was for Four Corners from the start. I just know that if that was their business plan, then they achieved it, and good for them.
Right.
Yeah.
And if money was flowing in, that means that it was a build up to following along what that business plan was.
Well, and the economy is in a good spot right now. So money is available, and you would worry, I think, let's say 3 or 4 years from now, when maybe things are scaled back and money's less available. Maybe your brand's not doing as well then, so the time is probably right. If you wanted to be acquired at some point down the line, now is probably as good a time as any.
I think, but you just said the word there is like, if that's what you want. I mean,
that's what you want.
I worked for Deschutes Brewery for 6 years, and they are, 30 years old this year. They're 100% employee owned. They started in '88. They've been through a lot of bull and bear years.
Oh yeah.
But their mission from the beginning was to always remain independent, which is kind of why it was also the draw for me to work for Lakewood, because our core values stand in that family-owned, independent. Not to say one's better or worse, it's just where our values stand, and that's what we're always going to strive to maintain.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's where, I guess, if things become across bitter, or things maybe like throw people out of whack because somebody sells, you just take that into account, that like what their original plan was from the beginning.
Well, RAR, Lakewood, and Community, of the top 6 brewers, those are the 3 where no ownership has changed hands since they got started.
Yeah.
You guys are all independent. Deep Ellum has had some shakeups over the years.
Yep.
Most recently, they joined the Oscar Blues Canarchy.
Yep.
And I think that's an interesting way to attack the let's try to fight the big beer guys as a more collective group. And I
Kind of
think
ganging up on.
it gives you some economies of scale. You know,
Yeah.
some
There's more
ways
than-
to purchase stuff less expensively.
There's more than one way to shotgun a beer. Yeah.
Yeah, a good way to put it, and stay independent.
And stay independent.
Yeah, those guys are all still independent. They're all craft brewers, and they're just part of a group of other craft brewers. So different than maybe, say a venture capital firm that's obviously going to try to do an exit at some point, or big beer, which is just trying to dominate as much of the market as possible because they have a fiduciary duty to their stockholders.
I had a beer with a guy in Flying Saucer in Houston not too long after Carbach sold to ABI. And we had a really great conversation. I was actually drinking a Carbach beer, and we were discussing it. And he said, "I love Carbach. I support them wholeheartedly. I'm glad that their business is successful. I just choose now to buy other beers because they no longer need my dollar." And I thought that was a very impartial way of putting it.
Keith Schlabs, I'm gonna quote Keith, and I know he's probably okay with this because he's publicly said this before. Zach, do you know Keith?
Maybe.
Beer director for Flying Saucer, one of the three partners.
Yeah. Okay.
In their restaurant group.
Right.
So Keith actually said something and very similar. He said, we supported those guys all along. They needed our help at that time, but at this point, they obviously no longer need our help, and we did our part. So I didn't think there's any bad blood. They just attempt to carry stuff that's independently owned, and I think that's cool to be able to do that.
Again, what do you want? It's your business. What do you want to do with it? And we all have to decide when we're buying or selling or whatever we do in our lives, whether or not those values align with our values.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the more important aspect of it. And if your values don't align with somebody else's, well, that's where you vote with your dollars.
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right.
it really just depends on the beer too. I mean, I know some people.
Oh, yeah.
Some people will break for certain. I mean, BCBS is always the Bourbon County Brand Stout is always the beer that people switch. Or like, okay, well, Goose Island is owned by AB and Bev, but it's Bourbon County Brand Stout. So I see a lot of people who are diehard independent still go after those beers despite them being.
I think it's because there's a gap in the marketplace, right? That is a beer that is sort of unique, even amongst the bourbon barrel temptresses of the world. Bourbon County Stout, for all intents and purposes, is a very, very thick, viscous, 14.5% bourbon barrel stout, and there really are not a lot of other beers like it. The only ones I can really just spout off the top of my head that we can get in North Texas are Bourbon Barrel Temptress, which is similar, maybe not quite as thick and viscous, and then the Prairie Stouts are the other ones that kind of come to mind.
Yeah.
Whether it's Bourbon Paradise or Bourbon Barrel Bomb or any of their other Bourbon Barrel Stouts.
Right.
So there's just not a lot of big Bourbon Barrel Stouts like that in the market. I think that's what kind of makes people go against maybe their values.
Yeah. And I think sometimes good beer is good beer, and
and sometimes you just have to
drink
say,
what you like.
This is a good beer.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where that dollar goes. I will appreciate this beer for this beer, whoever makes it.
Sure.
It's a very contentious topic amongst beer
you
nerds.
start getting into some people who will pound fists and slam beers for that.
I think if you're going to pound fist over that, then you should be more concerned about where you get your cell phone or where you get your TV dinners or who makes something like that. I think
it's pretty hard to avoid big business in general.
It is.
I'd say I try to, just because I've been in small business as either a business owner or for a job for the last 12 years. I've only worked for small companies, and I know that small companies are cool because they're nimble and they make changes more quickly than big companies do. But you just can't avoid it. I mean, if you're going to buy oil for your vehicle, if you're going to buy a car, it's going to be really hard to not buy it from a big company. Very, very hard.
There's always going to be that option, and I guess it's not to vilify others for making their choices.
Right.
I think that's where the fist pounding, it's like maybe we don't need to pound our fists and not vilify each other. Maybe we should just understand and listen and make our choices based on what our values are.
There you go.
Well, and ultimately the market decides, right?
Exactly.
You put your product out. If the market responds to it, most people don't care about independent ownership. I mean, I would love to say that everybody has that, but they just don't. I mean, the fact of the matter is people are going to buy what they're going to buy. Some people are more concerned consumers than others. But for the most part, the general consumer is not.
Good beer is good beer.
They don't care.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah. All we can do is, like, independent, small businesses is just make the best damn product that we can and hope that everybody enjoys it and likes it, and get it into the places where you can actually find it.
Speaking of independent or independently owned beer, I know that back maybe late last year, the Brewers Association came out with their independent label, which is an upside down bottle. It says independent in it. Mm-hmm. Is that something Lakewood has adopted?
It's on the case right there.
Is it?
Oh, is it?
Ah, yeah, there it is.
Yep.
Brewers Association Independent Craft.
Okay.
Certified.
Right.
So you guys have adopted this on most of your packaging at this point?
On all of our packaging.
On all of your packaging.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is neat, and I like it as a way to identify products that are independently owned. I think it's a great thing, and that way, if it is important to you as a consumer, you have that choice.
And that's really the decision. It's like if that's what your values align with, we want to make sure that you know that that's our values too.
Let's move on to some other topics.
Yeah.
Today is 7-Eleven Day. Free Slurpee Day. This is not beer related, but
this is Free Slurpee Day.
I'm throwing it out there because I have never participated in a free Slurpee Day, but I did by accident today. Another Free Play regular, Jose, and I were out doing some things, checking out our new Civil War shop.
Okay.
He came by to check it out. I had to get some gas, and the 7-Eleven is the gas station across the street from my house. So I pulled in, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go get a drink," and he went and got a drink. And he came out and he had a Slurpee. And I was like, I didn't know you were going to get a Slurpee. He's like, it's free Slurpee Day. And he didn't know either. So I went in, and it was a very different experience than a convenience store, which is typically one person working. They really don't care that you're there. They're just transactional because they do so many transactions a day. And I get it. It's hard to keep up your energy.
Right.
But there was a team of people handing out free Slurpee cups. Hey, do you want a free Slurpee cup? And then there was a team of people filling them. It was like 3 people at each station that were definitely like 7-Eleven corporate people that were very nice and bubbly and bright and happy. And I was like, what is going on here?
I wonder if that was at every 7-Eleven or just like prime location 7-Eleven.
I have a very non-prime 7-Eleven. I say that because I live in a neighborhood where there are no other gas stations for miles.
Oh, okay.
So it's not a particularly busy area for people to go and fill up their gas. So I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe I caught a traveling team that's going around to different locations. That's also possible, I suppose.
Still very cool.
It was very cool.
That would seem very weird going into a gas station and all of a sudden everyone is very chipper and happy to be there.
We've got Slurpee graphics. Thank you to Chris Delt.
Oh man, that was my favorite thing as a kid too. Like mix the cherry snow with the Coca-Cola. Yeah.
Oh, I got turned on to possibly a mix of blueberry and Coke.
Oh wow,
which I have not tried. That's some next level stuff right there.
I might have to try that.
Yeah. Jose recommended it. So.
Oh.
It's like that Simpsons episode where they mixed every flavor. They went on a bender.
I haven't seen that, but that sounds amazing.
That sounds right.
It's like Simpsons meets Fear and Loathing.
Zach, I'm going to kick it over to you. Let's talk about the current free play draft list. Obviously, Lakewood is the one that's got a couple of taps on right now. They've got the Jacked Up Lemonade, which I think all three of us Kyle's finished, but we're all three drinking that beer.
I'm actually drinking Lakewood IPA.
Oh, you
second draft.
Oh, nice.
That we're going to talk about, just because I really, really like this beer.
Tell us about your thoughts on Lakewood IPA, and then we'll kick it over to Kyle for some additional info.
All the rumors that I'm sure Kyle will back up was that apparently this beer was canned a couple times in-house. Various renditions of it were like, okay, we're going to work on it, and then that didn't work. Okay, we're going to work on it again. It took about 6 months or so in order to get this beer out and in the way that you wanted it.
I think what you're referring to is the piloting process.
Okay. Right. I mean, this was all, nobody ever saw this side.
No, this was all internal.
This was all internal in-house, but it took about 6 months of development before you struck an IPA that y'all were happy with. And
I did hear that it has been a long development process to get the flavor profile you guys were looking for.
A lot of that took place before my tenure.
Yep.
Before I came on, but what I understand is that the mission was to create a really flavorful IPA, body, aroma, just really direct. You couldn't mistake it for any other kind of style of beer, but also make it approachable at the time. Like the quintessential American style IPA is what what we were going for.
It is definitely an American
Yeah.
IPA.
But it's not harsh
by no other
like
name.
like a lot of people would consider an American West Coast style.
Well, it's not a
IPA.
West Coast style.
No.
It's definitely not. It's not even really an East Coast style IPA. It's sort of its own thing.
Mhm.
But in the fact that if I was to submit this beer to a beer judging competition, which we're actually going to talk about next, I think this beer would place well because it's sort of hits the middle of that road. It's not piney and resinous like a West Coast, and it's not juicy like some of these Northeast IPAs. It's sort of somewhere in the middle where it draws inspiration from both. When I was reading the description on the website, it said Mosaic, Citra, Mandarina, and Bravo hops. And obviously, the designer hops everybody talks about today are Mosaic and Citra. Those are the ones that are really common, especially in those juicy IPAs. And then Mandarina and Bravo are ones that Mandarina is still citrusy, but not like the Mosaics and the Galaxies of the world.
As a primary, no. But as a secondary, it adds a little extra character, especially to aroma. Mandarina is actually one of my favorite hops. One of my favorite beers out there, and I'll go ahead and pitch it or put that plug in for another. Is the Modus Mandarina from Ska Brewing.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
And
Have they pulled out of Texas? Because I know Jason Armstrong was working for them, and I haven't seen him around lately, and I don't think he works for them anymore.
I haven't heard, so I don't want to.
Okay.
I can't comment on it. I know Jason hasn't pulled out of Texas.
No, he's in Texas. I think he's in Houston.
He is in Houston.
Yeah, but I don't think he's with Ska anymore, and I haven't seen a lot of Ska beer around, so I just don't know if that's something that is still available.
I don't think they're still around. I haven't seen anybody come by my door in order to try and pitch anything. I haven't seen Jason come around and
That they're one of my favorite breweries, even to this day. I love Ska. I think they make great beer. And when they had the Modus Mandarina on, I guess it was primarily that Mandarina hop, and it had that juicy aspect to it, but it wasn't overpowering. It was very subtle. You could get through a 6-pack, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm on the last can. Oh my goodness, what happened?
that's how I feel about liquid IPA though.
And that's what I like about it too, is that it's a bold IPA, and it's not too big. It's 7% alcohol.
But I want to keep drinking it. Like I take a sip, and a couple seconds later, I'm like, no, I still like that flavor. I want to keep drinking this. And all of a sudden, you can be through a 6-pack, and you'll be like, well, I guess I got to go get more. Like
I may do that one next because I've had it a few times. I really like it as well. What I was going to talk about was tasting notes a little bit. Papaya and tangerine are obviously your tropical and your sort of citrusy notes, and then maybe toward the bitter side, they say grapefruit as well. I'm not a huge grapefruit fan personally, but I really like the Lakewood IPA because it is just sort of like it's balanced, it's right down the middle, and it's what Lakewood does best.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that's ultimately the goal of all of our beers is just to make sure that it provides the flavor notes, but it doesn't overpower.
Yep.
It makes you wanting a second one.
Like he was talking about.
yeah.
It's and I think when you talk about grapefruit, I think I'm on the same page with you.
Yeah, I don't want to eat a grapefruit, but I don't mind a little grapefruit flavor in my beer.
And I think that's where it's the play between palate and aroma.
Yep.
Also, it's like the pithiness or the actual like meat of it too can have different flavors and arrangements, on your palate.
Speaking of Lakewood IPA, recently that has sort of replaced Hop Trap, which was a Belgian IPA in the lineup. I know that kind of got retired. I heard a few people were upset about that, but I think it just, from what I had heard from other Lakewood staff, was it just wasn't the best-selling beer. Is that why it was replaced, or is it you guys just want to do something different, or what's the story there?
I think it's a mix of a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I think that, Whim's vision was to have a Belgian-influenced Texas craft brewery, and that was from the start. And so that's why Hop Trap was around as a Belgian-inspired, Belgian-style IPA. It's a unique beer when it comes to like talking about especially all the different kind of like big, juicy IPAs, the West Coast styles that were making their names known in the last 6 years. And I think that a beer as subtle on the hops as Hop Trap was, and unique with like those fruit esters you get out of the Belgian yeast.
Yep.
People liked it, but it wasn't exactly what was the zeitgeist or what was going on with the hype of that.
That's a good word for it.
Yeah.
I was thinking of there's another term, something du jour, but I can't think of what it is.
Flavor du jour.
Okay.
Yeah,
fair
sure,
enough.
I
Yeah,
don't
there
know.
you go. That's the American version.
Yeah.
There's a French
That's
term
close
in there
enough.
somewhere.
That's close enough to where we all know what it is.
Le Ville de Dieu.
And then, hey, what happened
Yeah,
to
French.
Hypochondria? I just found out that was retired as well.
Yeah, I think they both. I mean, they both were performing with the people who were fans of them, but I think
Yep.
that they were just taking up tank space. I mean, really,
Yep.
that's what it came down to. It's like we've
Okay,
got these
okay.
brands that we're fans of, and we've got fans of them, but we want to move forward and we want to have tank space for creativity. And sometimes it just comes down to that. It doesn't, and it also doesn't mean that beers go away. It just means that they're not going to be readily available like they always were.
Just
Okay.
because someone's retired doesn't mean they're not going to come back.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. It did say it was retired from year-round status.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see some of this stuff on a more seasonal basis or something like that.
You can still get it at the tap room too.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, both Hop Trap and Hopicon.
Fresh stuff?
Yes,
That's like-
fresh stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that brewed on the pilot system or is that brewed on the main system and you guys just keep most of it at the tap room?
I mean, I think that the last batch was brewed, in May,
Okay.
so pretty fresh.
Okay.
Yeah. And the pilot system, I believe, isn't that. I mean, if they do it, it's not big enough. Those are mostly for our
In-house.
R&D development
Experiments.
stuff. Yeah. It's always hard to say goodbye to beers that people are fans of, but it has to happen for things like IPA to happen, or jacked
Yeah.
up lemon ale, or there's only so much tank space that a brewery can make and fit, and sometimes things just go the way of the dodo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about the other beers that are on tap. NOLA Hurricane Saison. I read this and I was like, is that going to make anybody upset that they're calling this beer a hurricane?
Yeah,
Basically
I-
hurricane
NOLA.
season?
I was really thinking about that.
Nola.
I was really thinking about that. I was like, that's an excellent play on words, but I don't is it far enough away from all of that? Like, has it been enough years?
I don't know.
I'm not quite sure on that one.
If anybody has a sense of humor, it's Louisianians.
Yeah.
Or is that how you said that?
Cajuns?
Okay, yeah.
I mean, not everybody's Cajun, right?
Okay.
Yeah. okay.
Have you guys been to the NOLA tap room before?
No, I haven't.
No, I haven't.
It's a really cool spot. It's down on, I believe the name of the street's, I think it's Chapatulas is the name of the street that's on. It's either that or Magazine, I can't remember, but it's a street that sort of runs out of the French Quarter.
Okay.
It's not too far, mile and a half outside the French Quarter. So you can either take a short Uber or just a long walk. And those guys have some really great stuff. They do sour beer that's kettle soured. They do some dry hop stuff with their sour program. Really neat stuff. And then they've actually done like Belgian Creek style. With,
Oh, wow.
with,
Oh, really?
Like cherry sours. So the stuff we see here, I think, is maybe not even representative necessarily of their whole portfolio. But this particular saison is described as Belgian saison yeast, fruity essence of either passion fruit or mango, with 3 hops, 5 malts, and then they add cumin, peppercorns, and grains of paradise.
Wow. That sounds.
Yeah.
What does this beer taste like?
It's a lot of that is subtle. A lot
Is
of
it?
that is not, as you get down that list, it's like an ingredients list. It goes
It
less.
sounds crazy to me.
Yeah, it sounds crazy. A lot of that is a lot more subtle to me. I mean, you can sit there and if I had that in front of me, I could probably pick apart all of those tastes, but none of them are like super pronounced to me. But it's not necessarily a bad beer for it. It's still an excellent saison. It's definitely something that you could drink during the summer because I mean that's what the saisons I feel like are for, at least the lighter ones.
Well, the history, as far as I understand it, saison is sort of misunderstood in terms of what it should be like.
Okay.
It's a very broad style that is probably not as well defined as it should be because you've got beers like Saison DuPont that are dry and earthy and maybe have Brett in them, which is a yeast that makes things really, really champagne-y because it just eats all the sugar in the beer. And then you've got, domestic U.S.-made saisons that are sort of all over the map with cumin and peppercorns and grains of paradise and God knows what else. And then you got Jester King down in Austin that's doing sour saison,
Right.
which is a totally different animal. And that I'm referring to is called Saison Americaine,
Okay.
which is one of my favorite everyday drinkers Jester King's ever made. That beer is amazing. It's very, very lightly tart, super refreshing. I bought 20 bottles of it when it came out.
Okay.
These guys looked at me like, what is this guy doing when
To
I
say
bought
like the beer is an understatement.
it? Yeah, it's great. But I didn't really have anything else I want to say about that saison. Should
Yeah,
we talk about
What's the ABV on the saison? Sorry,
that's 6.5.
6.5. I noticed that when I was looking at the beer list, like the highest one is 7%.
You know, the people that come to... So it's two things. The people that come to Free Play are looking for a beer to, you know, passively drink while they're playing video games. So that's typically your lighter stuff. It's also the middle of the summer. Typically, we'll keep one darker beer on draft for the most part, but because of how it is during this time of year, we're trying to keep some lighter, just all-around lighter things. Usually we keep one beer on nitro, which actually we don't have currently. Running into a couple snags with that. But that's actually Huge Archer by... don't remember the name off the top of my head. And that's like a 13.5% stout.
Okay.
Wow.
And that's our, hey, if you want a dark beer, here you go. But right now we've got that line down, and so we're doing a lot of lighter stuff on draft. And I mean,
Yeah.
it sells well. It's partially a sales thing, and partially like there's a lot of good, flavorful light beers to have whenever it's 100 degrees outside.
Yeah, and I think that's what I really noticed and liked about it is that, I think for a long time, craft beer was synonymous with high alcohol.
Yeah.
And to show that there's really great low ABV options for refreshing craft beer is, I thought it was a good representation. And I was really,
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Mention that.
No, it's a collective thing here. It's not just one person ordering anything. It's very much like, hey, what do you really like? We'll get a keg of that because, if a bartender really likes this, then we'll get behind that. We love selling things that we're passionate about rather than, just selling whatever, looking at a spreadsheet and saying, hey, this sells better than anything else. Let's sell it,
Yeah.
I mean, I could sit there and I could tell you what our top selling beers, our fastest selling kegs have been, but that's not what we're about. We're about just switching things up.
Very cool, man.
We get a lot of people very upset about that, though. Like, hey, I came and I had this beer. I had this beer last time. It was really good. It was this, that, and the other. I was like, yeah, we don't have that anymore.
It's gone, man.
It's gone. We'll
It's in
have
the
it
wind.
next year whenever it comes out again. But
Let's talk about this Noble Ray beer that's on tap. Tropical Combat Firefighter.
that thing is such a good strange thing.
Yeah.
It's their tactical combat firefighter that I think they added a few different hop varieties to it.
The tropical version
The
is
tropical is
a play on the tactical combat fighter.
Right. I think they added a few different hop varieties to Tactical Combat Firefighter in order to kind of give it not necessarily a New England IPA taste, but closer to it. I think with
Well, it does
more
have
of
the
those,
Citra and the Galaxy.
Right.
That makes sense.
and it's got some more of those citrusy notes without being a true New England IPA.
Yep.
It's 70 IBU, which
Yeah, that's high.
you taste it, you go, whoa.
Yeah.
This was, and especially if you look at the color, because it's kind of that haze. It has that slightly hazy tone to it, but then you drink it and you're like, okay, this actually has a huge bitterness to it that you don't expect. But not necessarily in a bad way or a good way, just very different than the expectation. I've had a pint of it, so it's still really, really good.
Yeah.
But I think it's not supposed to be the session IPA that their Tactical Combat Firefighter is, but rather maybe a full-bodied IPA.
Well, what I thought was interesting about this, I went to their website to get more information on this beer, and they do something that's kind of interesting. They have these clickable icons, and they have one for every month of the year, and it's every month they have a different seasonal they come
Yeah,
out
that's
with.
what I think that's their campaign this year.
So June, this is the June seasonal, is the Tropical Combat Firefighter, which I think is cool to kind of come out with one every single month. That's something I don't think I've seen it before. If I have, I didn't notice it. But 6.2%, 70 IBUs, like you mentioned,
Right.
which is, really it's a scale of like 0 to 100, and the higher that number is, the more, I guess, perceived bitterness. Although, I don't want to get into that discussion.
Yeah,
'cause
Is that a rabbit hole?
Well, it can be. I mean, it's really a machine that's deciding how.
what a palate tastes.
Yeah, but if there's more malt in the beer to compensate for that 70 IBUs, you're not going to taste it like 70. So, like a lot of the big imperial stouts, like Yeti, that's 100 IBUs. But you'd never know it
Polar
because it
Eclipse,
doesn't.
I think, is 95.
Polar Eclipse.
Rough Tails
Okay.
Rough Tail's Polar Eclipse is something like 93 or 95, and you'd never know it tasting it.
I'd just say it's a good starting point to where you might know what to expect when you taste the beer, but it's still it's a very inexact science. So 70 IBUs, I would recommend trying it anyway. And then they say Citra Galaxy Amarillo hops, a unique yeast strain. I don't know what unique means, but the only one of its kind is what the word unique means.
I guess so.
So
yeah.
sure. Maybe it's something
Maybe like a house yeast that they're
like
using on some stuff.
Could be.
I know they're doing a couple.
Like Jester King's unique.
Oh, Jester.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That is that's as unique as it gets.
Yeah.
Right there. And they recommend drinking this beer on a beach.
Yeah. No, I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
That would be a good one. I would be very happy with that beer on a beach.
Refreshing then.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think the bitterness sticks with you maybe a little longer than I would like, but I'm not a huge like bitter IPA. I am definitely not the connoisseur of super bitter IPAs.
You're not a hophead.
No.
I'm not either.
So
I've climbed that mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've climbed Hop Mountain. I think that's something that every person has to do once or twice in their life.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you got to talk about. I mean, I'm looking at the graphics here. Like their packaging and their market.
they've won
Their
awards.
cans are just great.
They've won several awards.
Oh
for
man.
their
So
packaging.
for those that don't know, they have these cans where if you stack them on top of each other, that guy that's on the graphic, he would be the lower half of his body on one can, on one side of the
head,
can,
pretty much just the head
is
on the other side.
Yeah.
So New Belgium knocked it
Oh,
off.
yeah, that just came out. I forgot about that.
They knocked it off. And
I remember that.
the brewer from Noble Ray posted it on his Facebook. I saw it the other day, and he was
Tommy.
like, "Oh, this is interesting."
Tommy's not one to shirk away.
Oh no.
For speaking his mind.
He will definitely not shy away from any controversy whatsoever. But the guy is really cool. They have some amazing figures. Those were originally started by a graphic firm in Dallas called Magnificent Beard, and Magnificent Beard is well known as doing some of the most iconic artwork I've ever seen that's come out of Dallas.
What else have they done?
They did one of the murals in Deep Ellum that was just like one of the centerpieces on that bridge that went under the Good Latimer. When Good Latimer used to go down. One of the central figures on there. They've been well known for making a lot of figurines, and I think they did the big music festival that's nationally known. I think Sasquatch. I think they did the original Sasquatch. I could be misspeaking on that.
I know, but I think I have got the image of that image in my head, the Sasquatch, and that kind of like lines up with kind of the style too.
Yeah,
in a certain way. Yeah.
But so they did the original 4 designs for Noble Ray. Magnificent Beard's very expensive, so I think they had to move away from them because long term it wasn't going to work out for a good craft brewer. Because craft brewer is it's not an industry where you're going to get rich unless you sell.
Yeah.
Again,
nobody goes into it to try and get rich. I don't think. Otherwise,
No.
I mean,
Slim
I would
profit
hope not,
margins, lots of labor-intensive business, and you're buying at small scale when you're a small independent guy.
it's called beer money for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a labor of love.
Yeah.
But anyhow, let's move on because we're sort of running short on time. We've got about 10 minutes left in the podcast. St. Arnold Amber, I want to just briefly mention these guys. The OGs of Texas craft beer. They've been around for 23 years. I think they just celebrated their 20.
Yeah, they
Was it
just
24?
celebrated 24.
Okay.
Yeah, we were
24 years.
So me and Kyle were talking before the podcast. I'm from Houston, so that was
nice.
100%. Like I want to have a St. Arnold beer in here every now and then.
Nice.
Just because they make good beer, and I feel like with all of the crazy beer that's coming out of Dallas nowadays, they're almost underrepresented because of the sheer volume coming out of Dallas. So just to have one, especially their amber, which is, I think they've had that recipe for all 24 years.
Oh, it's a mainstay for sure.
And so having that beer, or just having any of their beers on every now and then, is just kind of my reminder almost as a Houstonian to Dallas of hey, Houston still makes good beer every now and then. Just kind of slide that one in just for fun.
Just briefly, when I got the notes off the website, year-round beer, medium malt character, medium hops and body, 6.2% ABV, 32 IBU, so less than half of the Tropical Combat Fighter. So this is not going to be a super hoppy beer. They mentioned pairing it with hearty foods like burgers or fried seafood. It's malty, caramel, hints of floral and citrus from the Cascade and Liberty hops. These are the old school. These are the old school hops.
Yeah, this is a 24-year-old beer.
Yeah, for sure. And Cascade was the hop that, if it wasn't in a beer at one point, it was kind of odd. You know, it was like Cascade was in everything. And light fruitiness from their house yeast strain.
That's the beer that I like to sell to people who don't want to drink light beer in the middle of the summer, because it's such a easy drinking beer, but it's still got like that maltiness that people look for out of dark beer.
Ambers were that intro beer for a lot of people, moving them off of like typical American light beer. If you didn't want to go right into a pale ale, an amber was a good
good stopping point.
Yeah.
So moving on from there, we already discussed Lakewood IPA, which is tap number 5, and then the last tap, which I'm very interested in, the Prairie Blueberry Boyfriend.
That was.
Tell me about this beer, because I haven't had it yet. I read a little bit, but
I saw they released that beer, and I was like, all right, based on the name alone, I'm interested.
And they've always got the craziest can art.
They have, their can art is always unique.
Yeah.
I think you can definitely tell it's a Prairie beer based off of the can art.
Very European. Like a McKellar artwork.
Yeah. Definitely McKellar. I could see a lot.
Yeah, Chris is pointing out the can. But I don't know what's going on there. Somebody's hiding under a table? Or...
I think as you spin the can around, there's like a lot of like dining room, like almost like a date.
Interesting.
But I was...
Have you had this one yet?
Yes, I have.
Well, how is it?
It's really good.
Yeah?
Actually. Not super sour, despite being a sour. In the can, the lemon zest doesn't quite come through, but on draft, man, you can really tell it's there for being like... Lemon zest, I never think is a very aggressive flavor.
Yeah.
But the blueberry and lemon zest, I've had a couple other beers that have been that kind of combination and not really stuck it for me, but I felt like this one, I was like, nah, this is really good without being like super sour, something I could actually drink a pint of, and that way I could, and not have my stomach hate me later.
You know, what's interesting about sour beers is if somebody tells me I don't like beer, the first thing I want to have them try is a sour. Because it tastes unlike any other style of beer.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that you also have to be like a sweet, like you like to have like sour things or even like slightly tart things.
Sure.
Yeah, it can be kind of off-putting if you're not ready for that or you're not that kind of flavor profile.
You know,
but they're typically in the lighter ABV and profile as opposed to like hops.
Right.
Because I think that's what scares most people away is hops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And sours are generally not hoppy. Not all. I mean, they can be.
Right.
You can have a dry hop sour, which is just as hoppy as any IPA, but it's just going to have a different flavor. What's the ABV on that beer? Do you know? Because I didn't have notes on that.
It was low.
I was going to say somewhere around 5.8, 5.5, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Okay.
It's about where you would expect it to be.
Good summer quencher, though.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
Yeah. If you like sour stuff and you like blueberries, that's definitely right up your alley.
If they don't have my boyfriend's back on some some publishing somewhere, they're missing an opportunity.
The last type I wanted to cover was the U.S. Open Beer Championships 2018, which just recently happened.
Yeah.
This is one of the biggest beer judging competitions in the U.S., GABF being the other one. In this particular competition, there were over 6,300 beers entered. And I think it's judged over a period of like 8 days or something like that. And the beers are spread out in 117 different styles. So lots of variety, of varieties when they're judging these beers. And then this year, North Texas Brewers took home 14 medals. Last year was 13, so we literally one-upped ourselves from 2017.
Hey, as long as we're on a one-up trend, we can eventually get, 20 and get a good percentage out of it. Say 25% of the medals go to North Texas. I'd be okay with that.
Well, I want to quickly highlight Peticolas, which was named the top prize overall of all of the brewers across the country. They were named the Grand National Champion, which is their top brewery award for 2018, which is amazing. And the reason for that was because they got 5 medals, 3 of which were gold, 2 of which were silver. And I don't know how many beers they entered. I'd be very curious if it was all 5 of those got medals. We said put 5 in. They all got medals.
Right.
Perfect. How many beers did you guys enter? Do you know the answer?
I don't know the answer to that one. I wouldn't want to hazard a guess. I think that Sin Mint winning was a surprise. I think when we fought out, we were like, oh, but that's the third silver for Sin Mint in that competition.
And isn't that
Really?
beer currently discontinued?
No, it's coming back actually.
It is. Okay.
We're gonna come and bring it back for the winter release.
I
Really?
am a huge
Okay.
fan of Sin Mint.
I'm glad. I'm glad you are.
Well, I didn't. Yeah, that we didn't just say like, oh, I want another medal. I guess it's coming back.
Yeah.
We were deciding it was going to come back either way. But yeah, the fact that it won a third silver medal, I love the beer, but mint can be polarizing.
I will be the other end of you two with the mint can be polarizing because something about mint in beer just doesn't sit right.
So
I don't know.
You don't care for it.
I can appreciate what it is. It's one of those like I can drink it and I say yes, this is a good mint beer. It's kind of like pumpkin beer. Pumpkin beer is like the other divisive, but it's something that I say yes, this is good, but man, I just can't. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so
That's why there's 117 different
right.
styles
Exactly.
of beer.
I like
Can't like them all.
Exactly.
But I mean,
Yeah.
as far as that beer is concerned, I think I still have a bottle of it at home just to drink one day if I'm ever like, you know what, I really want something minty. Just like take the edge off. But
Again, I think it's the concept of it. I think that when you take a concept like a Girl Scout Thin Mint cookie and you try to execute that into a 9%, Imperial's sweet milk stout, I think that's what the achievement's about. Being able to nail that concept. I think that's why that beer gets as much respect as it does from the competition side of things.
Right.
Yeah.
So that got a silver for you guys, and then you guys also got a bronze for Lion Share 4, which was a cognac barrel quad, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it brandy?
It was brandy.
Brandy barrel quad, which one of my favorites of all time. I actually just had this at the common table on Saturday.
okay.
That beer is currently on draft there, at least it was a couple days ago, and it has aged very nicely.
It has.
A lot of cherry notes coming out of that beer right now.
Okay.
And that was one of my favorites of all the Lion Share series. So I was excited to see that they got a bronze medal. You guys got a bronze medal for that beer.
Yeah, we were too. We're always very happy to get recognition, of course, especially for our barrel-aged beers. I think that's why when you guys get to try this, I really want to hear your feedback, but I think that Lion Share 6 is an amazing culmination of our barrel program that our brewers have been developing for the past 6 years, really putting together like a top-notch barrel program.
I'm a huge fan of blended barrel-aged beers
Yeah.
anyway, because they are a blend in general. You're taking a bunch of barrels that you like, and you're blending them into one beer. So this is a blend of all of those. So it's sort of like the top of the top stuff is all blended together. It's probably going to be delicious, I'm sure.
Treating a barrel as an ingredient as you would malt, hop, any adjuncts, I think that concept as well helps support any kind of barrel program. You just I want a little bit of this, I want a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And it just takes that really great master blender or brewer and just palate, just knowing what those flavors are going to do together.
Who's doing the blending at Lakewood these days? Is it Tim?
No, Tommy.
Oh, Tommy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tommy has been developing that in our series that we're going to start launching coming up soon is our Lakewood Barrel Works series.
Tommy and I have a lot in common, actually. We like the same music.
Oh, yeah?
He gets actually a little crazier than I do, but we like a lot of the same music.
He actually made a Tool reference today. Funny you mentioned that.
Oh, did he?
We were doing QC, and I ran downstairs to help with that, and we were quality controlling an all-call, and we were talking about different batch blends, and he was like, this is 46 and 22. And Tommy goes, it would have been cooler if it was 46 and 2.
Yeah, he's not wrong. He's definitely not wrong there. Let's move on to some others that got awards. 903 Brewers, one of my favorite series of local stouts. Sasquatch got a silver in the American Imperial Stout Non-Traditional, which says coffee, maple, chocolate, etc. So Sasquatch is a big, big beer. It's like 12%.
Right.
And they've done so many different variations on it that have been really great. They also came out with a summer stout that I had last night that was really good. Summer Vacation, I think it's called.
Oh, yeah, the coconut version.
Yeah.
Where they already had the chocolate in it, so they went ahead and added coconut to it.
Yep.
It's really good. It
is.
It has a similar.
That's a
coconut-
different beer than the Sasquatch, though. I think it's a lighter ABV, isn't it?
I don't think so. I think
No?
it's still that super heavy stout.
It didn't drink like 12% stout.
Maybe that's a good thing.
It's either a good thing or it's a different beer. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I definitely can tell it's got that same coconut taste as Chosen One from them.
Yep.
Like, I don't know, something about whenever you have, I guess where they source their coconut is the same, but it's kind of cool that you can taste the same thing in two completely different beers.
Yeah.
I would imagine keeping your supplier consistent. Yeah.
So we had 903 get the silver, Hop Fusion, which makes maybe the highest ABV blonde ale I've ever seen with their feisty blonde. I think it's like, and it's the specialty / anything goes category, and that beer is like 8.2%.
I was gonna say it's 8 or 9.
8.27, I think. Is
all right.
It's like that. Yeah. I know they're very proud of that second decimal point. They're like, no, this needs to round to 8.3 just to prove a point.
There you go.
They're
highest, so they won an award.
Yeah, highest ABV brewery per beer, I would think, in the DFW area.
Could be,
because I've gone out there quite a few times, and it's really hard to get out of there without an Uber.
Turning Point's kind of doing that a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Oh, they're 7, 8, 9%.
Yeah.
10% a new start.
Oh, really?
Triple IPA.
Jeez.
And that beer is so crushable.
Really?
So crushable. Yeah, you have to be careful. I mean, you could drink 2 or 3 of them, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just drank 6 beers. The equivalent of 6 beers. Lakewood, we went over that. Oak Highlands got a couple of awards. Now, you were telling me about this gold they got for Tejano Picano in the specialty category.
That's such a good thing.
What is it?
What is it?
It's a pecan brown ale that they just came out with seasonally, March, April-ish, I believe. And it was just something that we get a lot of their seasonal kegs just because we're happy with their seasonal kegs, and their driver came in one day and was like, man, we got this beer coming up. Like, their driver came in, not their sales rep. So that was one thing where I was like, okay, we'll see. And he was like, man, you got to have this beer. It's the best thing ever. And so I tried it, and I think we went through 2 kegs of it in a weekend. 2 slim kegs in a weekend, which is
I never saw it.
Unheard of for us, because that's insanely fast. And I tried to get more immediately after, and it was gone. I was like, awesome, great. But that was probably like my MVP for like a solid month, was just like this kind of, again, going back to St. Arnold's Amber, was just a darker beer for a summer hot beer. It was just really, really good. Like, the nutty flavor was there without, like, more so than some of the other beers that say they have a nutty flavor. Mm-hmm. Like, you definitely tasted this has pecan in it.
Yeah.
Without having to look for it. So it was really good. And I think it was...
That sounds delicious.
I think it was 5.2% or something like that. So super crushable. Like,
well, with them winning a gold medal, I think they're going to have to brew it again. I would like to see that beer because I've never had it. And they also get a silver for their Freaky Deaky, which, if I'm being honest and trying to think about it, might be the best locally brewed Belgian-style triple. It's really good. 9%. I think it's 9% ABV. Super good to drink even in the summertime because it is a higher alcohol beer, but it has sort of that lighter flavor profile that's pretty bright and flavorful for summertime.
That was the first beer from them that I've ever had.
Was Freaky Deaky.
And I was like, if this is indicative of anything else you guys are putting out, this is solid.
It's weird to have a flagship beer at 9%.
Like Velvet Hammer from Petticoat.
Right, right. Or, I mean, Temptress, like, just anything. Just like, we try and sell this beer that will get you there.
Right.
Reinforcing Texas stereotypes.
Everything's
let's talk about Petticolas. They got 5 awards for their beers. They got 3 golds. Black Curtains is one of their anniversary Imperial Stouts. Great Scott in the Scottish Ale category, which I have to agree, that's definitely a gold medal.
Okay.
That's Scottish Ale. It is amazing.
Scotch Ale, yeah.
And then gold for Velvet Hammer and Imperial Red. I'm not personally an Imperial Red fan, but I think for what it is, Velvet Hammer is excellent, perfectly executed.
Yeah, that beer is something different than I think most people consider an Imperial Red, because it's a lot different.
Well, it's got a great name. It's one of the best named beers probably in the world.
It's on point.
Yes, for sure. And then they also won silver for Royal Scandal, which very early on when that beer first came out, I told Michael, I said, this beer is as true to style as it gets. For an English pale ale, this is it. And I don't know if he liked it at first, or there was something where he was like, well, I didn't know about that beer at first, but then we won a gold for it at GABF. The first year it came out, and he's like, oh, fuck it.
What do I know?
Yeah, we have to make that beer again.
Yeah.
And here it is winning another award, so validating the Royal Scandal. And then last but not least, a silver for Sledgehammer, which is the triple version of Velvet Hammer, so it clocks in at like 12.5 or 13% ABV.
And that won the Anything Goes, right? Or
That is silver in American barley wine.
okay, so they
Yeah.
actually consider it a barley wine.
The Anything Goes was gold for Tejano Picano.
Okay,
That was what
okay.
won the Anything
yeah.
Goes.
Yeah.
To beat out Feisty Blonde. That's okay. I didn't.
Yes.
Man,
Yes.
that's crazy.
And then we have two other editions we should talk about. Rabbit Hole Brewing and Justin, the 10-6 won a bronze medal in the English Pale Ale category. So going up against Peticolas. So two North Texas breweries placed in two categories that I'm just looking at briefly. Royal Scandal, silver in English Pale Ale. 10-6 bronze in English Pale Ale. And then you've got, in the specialty Anything Goes, gold for Tejano Picano and silver for Feisty Blonde. So North Texas kind of cleaned up in a few categories.
Yeah. And that
here.
that 10-6 is pretty good. Like it, it just says regular pale ale on the can whenever you get it. So you're expecting like this weird hoppiness to it. You pour it out of the can and it's super dark, like the English style.
Yep,
and
English style.
It threw me off for a second. I was like, and then I drank it. I was like, okay, this is actually what they're going for. Because I had that a couple days ago, actually, whenever their rep came out. So,
Yeah?
Yeah. That one's actually just fresh on my mind. That's why I
Nice.
mentioned it.
And then last but not least, the old guard, Brewer & Sons, getting a gold medal for Iron Joe in the coffee beer category. One of my favorite rare beers of all time is Iron Joe, without question, which I think is the coffee version of
Iron Thistle.
Iron
Thistle.
Fist. Iron Thistle. Iron
There's
Thistle.
Scotcho.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they rotate the coffee on that, don't they?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
I'm not sure. I could have sworn somewhere I heard that they rotate the coffee every year between different Fort Worth coffee makers.
Interesting.
So I'm not. Don't put that on me if I'm wrong, but for some reason that just is sticking out.
Yeah. It's very possible they're buddies in Fort Worth, Avoca,
Yeah.
or maybe adding different coffees for them.
Okay.
I want to say they have a partnership of some kind, Avoca and Rar.
Yeah. Avoca's a good company to have a partnership with.
Oh yes, very much so. And that's a well-deserved medal
Yeah.
For sure.
for Iron Joe. Yeah, that's a great beer.
It is a great one.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, those are all the topics I had for today. I don't know if you guys had any closing thoughts or anything else you wanted to talk about with Lakewood today. I know the anniversary party's coming up August 4th, and you think tickets are next week where people can grab those?
Tickets should go on live at Pre-Kindle. You can get them.
Okay.
And just thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Thanks for coming out, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this has been great. I like talking to. I like being the person to just listen to all of this knowledge flow. It's fascinating.
I like how you called it knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, look,
Just been around a lot. Oh, wow.
exactly. I mean, but for some of the younger people or people who don't know as much, just to learn all of this and be able to kind of have it filtered through some people who understand that maybe everybody doesn't know everything about beer is really, really cool. I don't know. That's all I got.
Well, thanks, Zach. Thanks to Kyle Jordan for being here from Lakewood. I'm Chad Montgomery, your host from FPHops here in Arlington. Don't forget, Lakewood Anniversary Party, August 4th. Tickets are on sale next week. And right around that same date, Civil Pour should be opening. Civil Pour is my project with my wife, Nellie. We're doing 30 taps, full coffee program, panini sandwiches, delicious dessert called the S'more Espresso, which I think is probably going to be very interesting to a lot of people. If you like the dessert
sounds good.
s'more, it
I like
blends
that.
with coffee. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Catch us here, I believe, next week from Richardson, and we'll see you all then.